might be others that join in as we go along. And so I'll bring up that share screen again to introduce Solihin. Okay, so I assume that people can see that screen. There's been some good interest, but we'll see who's going to join in as we go along. And if you don't want to be part of the video, just turn off your own video and we'll keep going from there. So welcome everybody, and welcome Solihin to an evening of Let's Make the Australian Government Accountable, and we'll see where that goes. That was the opening screen. From what I've seen of Solihin's work, he's particularly the last video he's put out. He's talking about, I think it's more of a mindset. Don't be in fear. Just get out there and get out into the streets without your masks on. Do whatever you like. Travel wherever you like, because what's being imposed on us has not got any validity in a lawful sense. Would that be an accurate description there, Solihin?
Yeah, pretty good, George. For many of us who've been thinking about it, watching it, to us it's an absolute obvious scam. There's something sinister behind it, and from a legal point of view, it's completely illegal. You know, we've got that beautiful angel, Serene Tefaha, and what gave me a lot of courage was she put out a video showing how this lockdown is totally against the Federal Biosecurity Act of 2015. They have absolutely no legal standing whatsoever to do what they're doing. It's just, I think we're actually to blame, you know, the Australians, because we just sit and do nothing. And these people have assumed power, and they just do what they like. They've just become rogues, you know.
Yeah. It appears to me that there's a momentum building up. Like, I'll just bring up another share screen of some documents that have come out only in the last few days, and I think that should be encouraging for everyone. Because it seems to be happening. We're actually catching up to all this stuff that's going on out there.
Well, can I just say something, George?
Yeah, go.
Hello to everyone out there. All I can see is black screens, but it's very nice to meet you all. I hope you'll introduce yourselves at some stage. I'm very lucky that I have a very highly astute legal mind supporting me, right? And the way I was protected, I don't know if you guys know that I was the protest organizer for the 9th of August. And a lot of the groups on Facebook were told not to come for some strange reason. So we all rocked up, about 6 of us, and plus some others that I saw around. And I wasn't arrested, and I wasn't fined up to now. And I believe it was because we have a document, which I'd encourage you all to have a look at. It's on my Facebook page. It's a one-page document. It's a notice that we have the rights to protest. And it has incredibly incriminating legal statements in it that are incriminating against not only the Victorian government, not only the police force, but the federal court people as well, and a high court judge, right? And the theory is that, you know, we want to get that all into court, and the way to get it into court is you know, being taken to court, right? but they didn't want to accept the document. I offered it to them 4 times, and they refused to take it. So I'd encourage you all to have a look at that document, carry it around with you, and if anyone tries to tell you you're in the wrong place, or you can't come here, or why haven't you got a mask or so, and you can just say, you know, it's all illegal, and here, take this document, because it, you know, if you fine or arrest me, you may even, you know, spend life behind bars. And it's actually a fact that if we ask appropriate questions in the magistrate's court and they don't answer, you know, they could, or answer wrongly, they could be up for high treason. So, yeah, that's the legal side, George.
Yeah, I'm just going to type in the chat window your website so people can reference it. It's Make Australia Healthy Again, isn't it?
.org, yeah.
Healthy, I'm just typing it in now, Healthy Again.
Yeah. It'd be nice to hear from the people that, you know, are booked in.
Well, they can turn on their audio at any time. What I was going to do just quickly is, I tried to share this before. Let's see if it works this time. There's a number of documents which have been produced only in the last few days. Now, can you see that one?
I haven't, I've only seen one of yours, which was the ad that had my great visage in it. Otherwise, nothing's coming up. It says, information has started screen sharing.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything, George.
Yeah, yeah. It appeared, then it disappeared.
No, it says host disabled, attendee screen sharing. You've disabled it, George.
Oh, have I?
Yeah.
You meanie. Why'd you do that?
I'm trying to bring it up. Maybe my computer's overloaded or something.
No, it'd be in your settings. That's
Oh, no, here we go. Death of Andrew's government and Governor DeSalle.
Okay, I can see it.
Yep, I can see it.
Right, so this one's about a 70-page document which was released earlier this week. And as you can see the title, The Death of the Andrews Government, it goes through a whole bunch of elements which is showing that what's happening at that level of government is beyond power. And even the governor of the day, Linda Marion Dessau, hasn't been appointed properly. She was actually appointed by Daniel Andrews himself, but that's not a representative of the Queen, which is our constitutional way of doing things. Like I said, it's a very long document, and I've read through all of it. And if you go to the conclusion, it's talking about you're being asked to resign or be removed from office. Make your choice. So that's a very powerful one. There's also this one. I'll bring this up. And this one I haven't read through, and I'm not even sure where it's from, but it's a legal notice which has been sent to the premiers, first ministers, and the prime minister. Maybe somebody else is familiar with this document, but I haven't read that one. And this one I was only put up last night. This is, hang on, I'll bring it up first. Come on. Everything's, oh, here we are. Advocate Me is...
Yep. I started reading that one. I got about quarter way in.
Okay, yeah, so it's almost brand new. It's the class action, which is going to all these honourable names. That's if you can call them honourable. So it starts...
Yeah, I actually noticed that they're all called honourable, and I'm thinking, what's honourable about Daniel Andrews, really?
Well, it starts with Scott Morrison, then Daniel, and a whole bunch of other...
I've got a nice little phrase, scummo and gummo.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and so it's an open letter. I've hardly read any of it, so it kind of tells me things are moving at last, right? The people who know how to do this stuff are actually putting stuff together in order to bring this to some sort of resolution, perhaps. There's another one I could share. Let me just turn this one off.
Yeah. Meanwhile, George, can I say something?
Yep.
There's been a push to coordinate the groups. You know, what's happened in the past is there are many groups out there, and they're all have somewhat conflicting dates and focus and so on. So that's all been sort of put together, and there's now this huge bunch of groups that are all going to demonstrate on the 5th of September, which is a Saturday.
Hang on, I'm confused there. Is it the 5th of September? I thought that was a Sunday. Or is it, oh, hang on, that is Saturday, you're right. Or there's another one which is supposed to be happening on the 13th of September.
Okay, let me, this could be of interest to everyone. I can't even see who's there, but I'll say it anyway.
Yeah.
There was a logo put out, a smiley face, that was put out, I think, by Thanos. Most of you would know Thanos. Mm-hmm. And it was stolen, in essence. The logo was taken by another guy, and he assumed it, and he set up the 13th, right? Now, he got about apparently 17,000 people who were interested. And the reason he got those many people was because he'd taken the gold, you know, he'd stolen the logo. So anyway, we had him all on this chat. Everyone got together last night, and it was very clearly stated that I think he's already done it, that he's changed his date to the 5th. And everyone else is on the 5th. That's Australia-wide. So there's a lot of cohesion now, and a very good sort of group or overseeing group, you know, figuring it all out, you know, what's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and that. So that's not being talked about until, you know, just before the demonstration.
Okay, I'm glad you've cleared that up for us, because yesterday I kept hearing, oh, it's going to be the 5th, going to be the 13th, and back to the 5th again, and back to the 13th. Anyway, it'll be sorted out.
You're absolutely right. That was the status, but that's finished now. It's the 5th.
Yeah, okay then. Well, thanks for that. Another little share that I'll bring up, and something that we've put out for a long time is something that Martin Luther King said, Jr. said many years ago, and that is, those who love peace must be as organised as those who love war. And we have been observing a little bit of bickering between groups, and that's not good, guys. Let's put those elements aside so that we can work as a cohesive force, so that we don't get unstuck. That's my little input on that.
Yeah.
Now,
actually, can I?
Yep.
Can I say another thing? I don't know if you guys have picked it up, but I'm very much, I'd say not only believe in God, I actually experience God, right?
Yeah.
And before the 9th of August, Freedom Day that I organized, and I made those movies about, I was really concerned about what my behavior should be, because I knew I was going to come up against the police, right?
Yeah.
And I was advised by various people, but I had this sort of spiritual, experience. And I'll just put it in my words, right? I don't want you to, I apologize if it sort of conflicts with how you feel. Anyway, I had a visitation. This huge light came into my flat on the Friday before the presentation. And I clearly heard these words come out of this incredibly glorious light. It said, the words were, "The meek shall inherit the earth." And that was very, very clear. And it absolutely, at that moment, I lost all fear, because, we're always a little bit, concerned what's going to happen to us. Are they going to come and steal all our computers and mobile phones and, lock us in jail and so on. But when I heard those words, I just absolutely lost all fear, because I knew that the right approach to the police is one of respect. And if you look at, I'm not condoning the police behavior in any way. I think the police behavior is totally and utterly shocking. But the people who seem to get into trouble with them creates a bit of anger and violence in their behavior, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm clearly, I know 100% now that our attitude in these demonstrations and protests should be peaceful, and particularly towards the police. And so in my case, I advised everyone to give the police whatever they want. Under common law, they're not allowed to ask you your name unless you've committed a crime, right? But my advice that I was receiving said, if they ask you for your name, give them your name, right? And that's precisely what I did. And for some reason, they didn't arrest me and they didn't find me. And I even spoke to them. I joked with them. I had the music on from the German. You remember there was a big protest in Germany?
Yeah.
I think it was 1st of August. And there were 2 million people there, right? And I joked with the police. I said, I was playing the music, from the protest in Germany. I said, yeah, that's the music from the protest. There are 2 million people, and they just told me to get lost. So I'll just say that for anyone who's contemplating, coming on the 5th of September, that's certainly how I'm going to be behaving. And I'll have my little piece of paper in my hand, the one-pager. And if anybody approaches me, I'll do what I've said.
Well, one of the reasons we wanted to get you on tonight is because of the mindset that you're promoting. In that last video that you produced, I think you started with fellow Australians. Take your masks off and get out into the street, as if to say there's nothing to fear.
Yes.
I go along with that. If we are approached by a policeman or a gang of policemen and they want to fine you, well, accept the fine, because there's nothing, it's just a piece of paper. And then you can use that piece of paper using the statements that you presented before and take it into the court and produce a standing where you can't be touched, or it actually might get them into trouble instead.
It certainly will. And I'm making the promise that if anyone approaches us to go to court with them, we'll be more than happy to go to court with you. And we will take people that are extremely astute And, you know, we'll just blow this Victorian government and this police force apart because there's so much criminal and illegal activity going on. And there are cases that have already been filed, you know, in the courts and are being suppressed. These cases are being suppressed, and they go as high as the High Court of Australia, right? So this is an opportunity, if any one of us gets fined or arrested, to go to court and just blow the whole thing wide apart. And I very much doubt if you show them that bit of paper that they'll either fine you or arrest you. I mean, I can't guarantee, but that's what I, you know, think.
Yeah, we'll bring it up and we'll polish it, and when we need to use it, we'll have the script there. The other thing I wanted to share on the screen, maybe some of you have seen this video already. I only saw it late last night. It's what's happening in Canada. There's a legal team and a particular guy who is suing the government, the Canadian government, over the COVID measures. And well, he's basically saying what you're saying and what some of the other people that are active in this are saying. It's worth looking this up and watching the video. It's about 50 minutes, and as it says in the title, it might be able to set up a worldwide example that we can start activating here and there around the world.
Can you give us the link?
I might have to look it up to find it.
I suppose I could just write those words down.
I'll look it up and I'll put it in the chat screen while you're talking. So I'll just take it off share again.
Are there any questions? Oh, all those invisible people. You know, it's almost worth switching off that recording, George, because the people are not showing themselves because it's being recorded, you know.
Oh, perhaps we can get to that point. Now, what you brought up before, you were saying you were shown a light in your flat the other day.
Yeah.
So that's bringing up the idea of metaphysics, and that's something that I present in a strong manner. For example, the material that we use is telling us that an awakened species always uses metaphysics, and humans in an unawakened state do not. And so on occasion, I might use divination to help us along. You know, it's once in a while. And I did one just recently, and I don't know if people are familiar with this sort of material.
Sure.
Yeah, an ancient Chinese oracle. It's one of the oldest books that are still surviving on Earth. Something like 30 centuries old. And it gave me an interesting divination on short-term things that are happening. And it seemed to be very relevant to what's going on. It says it's a breakthrough or a resolution, you know, with all that stuff that we showed before, which all those new documents which are discrediting the governments. We could be getting close to a breakthrough or resolution. And what it says, one must resolutely make the matter known at the court of the king. It must be announced truthfully. Danger. It is necessary to notify one's own city. It does not further to resort to arms. It furthers one to undertake something. And what I got from that was we can protest as much as we like, and we can produce really fancy documentation, but in the end, I think it's got to get into the court. You know, it says the court of the king. And I was asking myself, well, what is the court of the king? Is that...
That's very clear.
Well, the court of the king could be one of the higher courts, perhaps a common law court.
No, I'll give you another take.
Yeah, go on.
The king of the universe.
Well, there is that as well. But let's keep it in earthly terms. That's what I'd suggest. So, in earthly terms...
That is earthly terms.
Okay.
All of our law, my friend, is based on the King James Bible.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, but into what court that is? What's the level?
Well, I was speculating that it could be a Queen's Bench, and that's another word for either the Supreme or the High Court. I'm not sure which, where common law can be used. And in the rest of the reading, it says it must be announced truthfully, and it's dangerous. You know, they won't like us doing this, but you know it's got to be done. It does not further to resort to arms. In other words, we don't want to get down to violence and belligerence and all that sort of thing. And you know that's what you were saying before, Solihin. You want to approach these elements with some sort of peaceful demeanour.
Yeah. Could you read the bit about the city?
It is necessary to notify one's own city.
Okay. I'll tell you how wonderful your receiving is, right?
Yeah.
I've just put up a GoFundMe because no one is doing the government, right? And Serena's started.
Yes.
But I thought, well, you know, I'll do it, right? Because I've got ammunition now. I know what, you know, corruption, etc. is going on. So I put up a GoFundMe, and I haven't spoken much about it, and I've got a few $100, you know. However, my legal people got in touch with me and said, Sol, don't bother about suing the Victorian government, sue the city of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And apparently by suing the city of Melbourne and the mayor of Melbourne, it will uncover all the corruption.
Okay.
So we're going ahead with your piece of advice, George.
Well, that's the advice we got from the this little reading. It does also say that it could end up in misfortune if we don't cry out. In other words, if we don't get it into the courts, they're not going to take notice of us.
Well, the other thing also is that I sense in your divination the presence of Almighty God.
Mm-hmm.
And that in my, you know, that's my whole life in essence, is to just be surrendered to Almighty God, right? And meekness is a beautiful state of surrender, but it's incredibly powerful because you have no fear, for starters, and secondly, you speak your truth, and you speak it kindly. You know, you could, you'd say, I've got to share with you guys, I'd love to hear from all these people I can't see. But George, when it's time, please ask everyone to say hello. I'll get this out. What was I saying? I've forgotten. Yeah. Anyway, keep going. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm encouraged by the all the documentation that's being put out there. So people are taking action, and Serene is also taking action. And the Canadian video, it's well worth watching, and he's actually bringing it into the court. And it might be his own version of the royal court, but he's a legal practitioner. He knows what he's doing, and a lot of us don't. So the momentum is building. You know, that's what we need to do. We can't just protest. Yeah, go on.
George, I'm just going to finish. I just remember what Bennett's saying. When, you know, the police were really, really kind to me at that demo. They treated me with respect. I treated them with respect. And then some dude, who I think was like the senior officer, started to get aggressive, right? And he pushed me around a bit. You can see it in the videos, right? And you know what came out of my mouth? It's so funny. Don't be naughty.
Yeah.
It was so funny. It was like treating him like a little kid, you know? And I think that's, to me, to stay away from violence, it becomes so funny. I mean, I go around wherever I want to go. I don't know anything I like. And if someone accosts me, I just say, "G'day, how you going?" You know?
Yeah.
I had that very, the very thing you said, the meek shall inherit the earth. I had that come to me this week as well.
Yeah. What's your name?
Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Chris
How
was
come
our
there's
presenter.
on the screens?
Yeah, Chris was our presenter last week.
Yeah.
And he was presenting mind, well, I called it a generic name, mind therapies. And I think it's related to hypnotherapy and also neuralistic programming. It's a mindset where we come out of the fear. And if enough of us are doing that, it creates a field of energy, a positive energy.
Yeah.
Would that be accurate, Chris, or not?
It'll do.
It'll do.
I'll tell you what, seeing that you featured me, and you know, so I feel I have a little excuse to speak. Sorry if I'm saying too much, but I can give a take on all of this that will make you all incredibly happy, right? And you know, always people can say, well, that's your, you know, what you think. And that's a fair enough statement, right? So just including that statement. A lot of the gurus, a lot of the ancient writings, a lot of history, even those you know, people who could foretell the future have told us that we're going into what's called the golden age, right? That society is going to change from this horrific, you know, confrontational, warring, you know, destructive time into a time of absolute peace and joy and love, right? And it's got other names, the age of truth. Some people call it the age of Aquarius. And it's all been foretold, right? Now, in between this time and that time, there's this changeover, right? And it becomes extremely tumultuous and very difficult. And in fact, many have said that there will be hell on earth, you know, in the transition, right? Now, what are we all doing on earth, right? We have to ask ourselves that question. And for me, the answer is, I'm a spirit, I'm not a body. And I'm here, this is a great illusionary university, and I'm learning to be closer and closer to the creator. And so my body's not that important, right? It's my soul is important. And so we learn, we human beings only tend to learn through suffering. Suffering is one of the greatest teachers of the human. And God has placed this, I would say, small amount of suffering because it's financial. Unfortunately, lots of people are killing themselves, which is terrible. But it's not like the Second World War yet, right? With people losing arms and legs and being blown to bits and so on. So it's a suffering, but it's not, you know, as bad as that. And it's making a lot of us think. We're all, you know, having to think now, yeah, what are we on about? Is this right? Can I accept this? And so on. And so I think there's a move to dispel darkness. That's the overall, you know, psychic or universal meaning of this time, right? Is for the individual Jiwas, the individual humans, to actually grow, you know, for us to approach a higher state. And so, yeah, that's how I see it.
Well, it seems to be a special time. From information that I work with, they're saying that the entire universe has got its eyes on Earth at the moment. So we're in the spotlight. You know, we may not know it, but there's, according to information, in this galaxy alone, there's tens of thousands of humanities, and the ones that have advanced, perhaps more than we have, are keeping their eyes on us because of this special transition time that we're going through. And we could still fail. You know, all those prophecies of the future are not actually the future. They're just one of the timelines that we can select. And the information tells us that we're in a little bit of peril, because we might end up choosing technology over cosmology. It's supposed to be a balance between the two. But if technology advances a little bit too quickly without spirituality raising, you know, and by spirituality I'm talking about our values and how we treat each other, we could end up being controlled by machines, and machines don't have any empathy, as you can imagine, and that's a nightmarish future. Now, according to the information we do work with, if we do make that choice, we would become super advanced technologically. You know, we'll get to the point where we master time and space, and we can actually skip over space and time and travel to other stars and all that. And if we end up being predominantly technological, then we could cause other races in the galaxy a lot of trouble. And so it's a good idea to make this transition, and in a positive way. And I think we're in a special position right now, because I think Victoria is one of the test beds for the world. You know, if we get it wrong, then perhaps it's going to ricochet to other parts of the world. Possibly New Zealand is in worse shape, because I've heard they're already announcing that they'll be doing door knocks, military-style door knocks, and if you don't have if you don't submit to vaccination and chipping and all that sort of thing, you won't be allowed out of your house or something like that. Who knows where it's going to end up in New Zealand, if that's the way it's going.
Well, it's the same in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I think New Zealand is a little bit ahead of us in
Oh,
that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way to put it.
Can I interject?
Yeah, one at a time. Go on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether I'm mute or not. I mean, I figure this is a group roundtable sort of dynamic. When I hear talk like that, where things are moving so fast, so terribly fast, that if anything, if you look at just the immediate past, we have devolved, I think, you know, to maybe paraphrase someone like Mark Passio, but I don't need Mark Passio to tell me this. I see it for myself, that we have devolved so much as a collective, how we're supposed to, in the aggregate, cause this, I mean, have this Maharishi type effect where we are going to head in that right direction of evolving, and if every planet and galaxy has their eyes on us. I'm not trying to be pessimistic one bit. I've got that Thessarian sort of pessimistic about tomorrow, but optimistic about the day after. But at the same time, we're literally days behind, Jacinta Ardern and her little Trudeau. I mean, we're at that. The whole world is watching Melbourne right now, and we are so clamped down, especially here. I don't know about collective consciousness where it's starting to wake up. I don't see it. If not, I don't see the balls behind the action that needs to be taken. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, the action hasn't occurred yet. The mindset's changing.
Yeah, well, in the last few days, that's why I showed all those 3 documents that have just appeared in the last few days. That means people are taking this into action now, and it could produce what we need to see. So let's not be too pessimistic about it. I think, and it seems to me like the march that is getting organised for the 5th of September is going to be a well-organised event now, because it's all converging on one date. I mean, I was hearing dates all over the place, but now it's going to be just the 5th of September from what I heard.
What's your name? Who was?
That was Tony.
Tony. Okay, Tony. I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I put it this way, right? From my perspective, and of many people who've gone before us, this is inevitable. What's going to happen is there's going to be a transition, which is going to be fairly difficult, and then we're going to go into the golden age, right? What I think you're saying and what George is saying is that each one of us is going to be given the choice. Which way do we go? Do we go up or do we go down, in essence? And I agree with both of you that that's the uncertainty. I personally don't think there's any uncertainty in what's going to happen, on a global scale, but there is the uncertainty what's going to happen to us,
I feel pretty restricted in New Zealand, but I'm just not sure about a lot of things. That's why, looking around here.
Well, you're from New Zealand, are you, Felix?
Yeah, I'm from Auckland.
Okay. Can you give us an update there?
Well, we're still all on level 3 lockdown, and yeah, that's all. They're going to give us an update on Monday. They said they would do it today, but now they've changed it. Yeah, that's all I can say, really.
Yeah, Felix, if I may say, I think we've got to do something, I don't know if you can see it on that screen behind me, and it basically says, if good men do nothing, evil will overtake the world, right? And so people have to stand up, we have to be heard, we have to make a move. And in fact, that's what happened when I got that protest happening on the August the 9th, right? And in essence, there was this tiny little group of us, but we did it. Do you know that went worldwide? It went to the BBC, it went to New York, it went all around the world, right? Just a tiny little group of people who made an effort. And another thing, Felix, if I may, is, I said it in the tape, but I'll say it quickly, that there's the fairy story of the Emperor's New Clothes. Were you?
Oh, yeah. I know of that story.
Yeah. It just took one little boy, you know, in this crowd of thousands and thousands and thousands, he said, "Mummy, the Emperor's naked," to change the entire situation, you know. And that's why I was so happy and proud on that day, you know, that August the 9th, because I was that little boy, right, who was saying this is all rubbish. And I think, Felix, we have to do this. And I can see it all just falling apart. It's so ludicrous.
Ridiculous and fragile, right?
It's just shocking, you know, there's so few deaths. If you got, you know, 5th grade mathematics, it's obvious there is no pandemic. And they're using these tests, you know, to create fear and horror and terror and panic, right? And the tests are not accurate. And so that's another way, Felix, we can sort this out, is why don't we all go around trying to test the test kits? And if we can prove that those test kits are failure, we've just broken the whole thing. Yeah, there's lots we can do. To try and make you feel better, I put an e-petition, that's right, into the government. And they basically, you know, generally mean nothing, right? But before I put that petition in, I'd already served legally on the government, the Victorian government and the police force, documents that clearly showed it was a scientific fraud. And you know, in proper government, they have to deal with those documents. If I served them, it was on July the 10th, right? Then they need to examine it, right? But to help them along, I made this e-petition, which sort of basically said the same thing. Guess what? One of the parliaments, and I've been sending all the information to all the parliamentarians, just totally transparent, right? And one of the politicians said, I will deliver that e-petition to Parliament, a guy called Tim Quilty. And so that's imminent. It should be happening, I would say, no later than Tuesday. So the government is going to be faced with a clear statement that there needs to be independent scientific testing. You see, Felix, there's so much we can do.
Yeah, a lot of ways we can.
I have a little issue with that. Does it take getting to this state in order for a government official to even look at something like that?
I'm afraid, you know, our analysis, sorry, is it your name again, sir?
Tony.
Tony.
Yeah.
Our analysis, Tony, is it's very, very, very big, right? If we trace it back to its origins, it's a takeover of the entire world. And this is a biochemical arm of a military coup on Australia by no less than the United Nations. The issue is that, you know, it's all smoke and mirrors nowadays. And it's actually this one vast corporatocracy. Everything is corporate, everything is fascist, right? And you'll notice quite clearly that Gates and all the rest of them have taken over the World Health Organization, right? It's just transparent. They run the World Health Organization. They will run it through a group called Gavi, G-A-V-I, right?
Which Trump is involved with.
Yeah, well, just let me keep this train of thought. So the same's happened to the United Nations, you know, without us knowing. that body that was meant to look after humans on planet Earth is now being run by corporations and big banks. And they just want a new world order. They want to take the whole thing over. They want, for some reason, to control everybody and put this chip in, which, by the way, as you all know, is prophesied in the Bible. It's called the mark of the beast. And, it's very big. It's in essence, talking in my terms, right? What language should I use? It's the satanic trying to take over the entire planet, right? And on the other side is the power of good and, God and the angels and all the rest. So it's a war. It's a big spiritual war.
Thing is, this little group right here don't need the convincing one iota.
I suppose I'm just trying to be an optimist. I'm the eternal optimist, Tony.
Yeah, I was trying to bring up that Canadian guy that was suing his government. If there is some pessimism, then it's worth watching that video. And I'm actually looking for the link on my computer, and so I'll put it in the chat screen. I'm having trouble getting it working for some reason. I'll keep trying while you keep talking, or you might want to. Do you want to throw the meeting open to other people saying something or questions?
Yeah, I think questions are good.
Shall I turn off the recording?
I think that's a great idea.
All right, I'll turn off the recording.